After I had my first baby, I lost 45 pounds in 4.5 months postpartum. And I got pretty close to my pre-baby weight in that time frame, which sounds great, right? Not in like a promoting bounce back culture kind of way, but in a jeans are expensive and I don't want to buy new ones kind of way. I'll insert some like before and after photos here in case you're interested in that. But there's a lot about that process that you're not going to see from those photos, and that's what I want to talk about today. I've been thinking a lot about this recently because I am pregnant again, and there's so much I want to do differently to better prepare myself for my postpartum season wellness fitness journey part 2. That said, there's also a good bit that I want to do the same and even like double down on because it worked really well in helping me get results in a relatively short time frame. So let's get into the details. What worked, what didn't work, what made it way harder on myself than it needed to be, and what I'm planning to do differently this time around. I made myself a little coffee drink. I love talking about postpartum fitness because I feel very passionately about it. So I'm super excited to make this video and felt like I needed a little like caffeine boost to like help me harness that energy. If you're new here, my name is Bailey. I'm a certified personal trainer, certified nutritionist, pre and postnatal specialist, and most importantly, I am a mom. I work full-time. I also make videos that are all about sort of this like realistic, holistic wellness in the context of the chaos of motherhood. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, I would love for you to subscribe to this channel and join our very quickly growing little community here. If you're not new here, welcome back. Okay, very brief history that's all relevant to the tips I'm going to give you about postpartum fitness. I've always been very into fitness and like fitness adjacent things. Even before I became a personal trainer, had my own wellness app, all the things, like I just loved that stuff. I loved exercising. I loved workout classes. Like I loved it all. That said, I am someone whose weight can fluctuate pretty drastically, just like throughout life with all the different seasons and ebbing and flowing of life and hormones and whatever. Like my body changes a lot. Part of that is probably genetics. Part of it is also probably some significant damage I think I did to my metabolism when I was younger and had some issues with food, but it's just my reality. So just to set the stage, I am not someone who's been like naturally thin and fit my whole life and like was only pregnant right here. Like, no. That is not my journey. I was also one of those women who was very lucky and was extremely nauseous during pregnancy for a good chunk of the first part. This is my third pregnancy, my first one with my daughter. I had really significant morning sickness, all day sickness for about 17 weeks. So when I got pregnant, my lifestyle habits changed drastically. I went from being like super fit, super active, like doing all the things to basically just laying horizontal in my bed, praying that it would end for 17 weeks. Like it was brutal. Needless to say, I gained a lot of weight during that time. My body was like, whoa, what's happening? Also, I was growing a human. And so I don't say that with any shame. I just say that as like, that's the reality. I gained a lot of weight during my first pregnancy. It's also worth noting, I had some pretty relaxed views around food during my first pregnancy. And I pretty much ate whatever sounded good to me in the moment for like 9 months. I do not recommend this for many, many reasons. But I think for me, it was the first time in my life I had allowed myself the freedom to just eat whatever I wanted. And I kind of had this like mental game going of like, this was the first time in my life that like gaining weight was good. And so I think I really leaned into that. And in combination with also feeling like crap all the time and only craving like junky, like beige colored foods, I had a lot of French fries and Swedish fish and things like that throughout my pregnancy, all in the name of cravings. And I wasn't making the healthiest choices. I actually think that process healed my relationship with food. And I can explain that more in a different video, but I think just the fact that I gained weight and the world didn't end, and I was actually able to lose it after the fact. And during that, I learned how to listen to my body and what it wanted. I feel like that changed the game for me in terms of my relationship with food. So maybe another day I'll make a video going into more like detail about that because I actually have a lot of gratitude towards my like early 2022 pregnant self because I feel like I now have a totally different relationship with food because of that. But it's too much to get into in this video, so switching gears. But that's for another time. If that's a video you're interested in, comment below. I would love to know if people will care about that. The point of all this is to say I gained about 50 pounds during my first pregnancy. And I know some doctors have like rules about how much you should or shouldn't gain during pregnancy, whatever. My midwives were amazing. They knew that I struggled with that mindset some. And so I never, like when I got on the scale, for each of my appointments, I never looked at the number. They never said it out loud. They told me they would tell me if they were worried. They never said anything. So like, it was fine. Towards the end, I did want to know, mostly because I knew I was going to want to try to lose that weight. So all this to say, I gained about 50 pounds, no regrets. My body did a wonderful, incredible thing. It created the most precious, perfect little tiny human who is now almost 2 and like terrorizing our family in the best of ways. I have no regrets. That said, that first long look in the mirror postpartum is hard. At least it was for me. Everything looked different. It looked mushy. It looked unfamiliar. And listen, I'm all for pushing back on bounce back culture. I don't think you have to prove anything. I don't think women should feel any sort of pressure to like get back to the way they looked before their baby. Like, I don't think there's anything that we need to be driven by that is external pressure about how we're supposed to look before or after we have a baby. However, I also don't think it's bad to just want to look different after you have a baby and to want to get back to fitting into the clothes that you used to wear all the time so you don't have to buy new ones. Like, I don't feel like I need to apologize for the fact that I very quickly had an aesthetic goal about my body. That's where I was. I wanted to fit into my pre-baby clothes. I wanted to get my energy levels back. I wanted to feel strong again. I wanted to have endurance again. Like, I just had a desire for things to be different. So I did. And I lost 45 pounds in 4.5 months. Here's the exact plan that I followed. So after I hit 6 weeks, which I'll talk more about the 6-week thing in a minute, I followed what I have coined as my 4-3-2-1 method. So what this stands for is 4 workouts a week for 30 minutes or less, and then 2 days a week of 10,000 steps a day or more. 10,000 steps a day is a great goal if that, like every day, if that suits your lifestyle. As a full-time working mom, it does not and did not suit my lifestyle, but twice a week felt realistic. So 4 workouts a week, 30 minutes or less. I did it all from home, minimal equipment, and then 2 days a week I was focusing on 10,000 steps or more. By the way, this is the method I still follow almost 2 years later. This is the method that I program in my Well Mamas app for all the mamas that follow my fitness programs. If you're looking for a way to get fit from home, you can try our app for free for 7 days. You get a brand new workout program within this framework, 4-3-2-1 framework, every single month. You also get a brand new meal plan every month with a grocery list, meal prep tips, and you get access to an entire library of mindfulness guides, mom-focused meditations, all sorts of things to help you like find your zen in the chaos of motherhood. So if you're interested in that, you can grab your free week at the link below. All this to say, the 4-3-2-1 method is what I followed getting fit postpartum. At the same time, I was also focused on my nutrition, obviously, but mostly what I focused on was eating enough protein, eating enough healthy fats, and eating enough fiber. I also tried to drink a lot of water. I don't really drink much other than water and coffee. So that's easy for me. I don't drink sodas or juice. That's not really my thing. But those are the things I focused on from a nutrition standpoint. I was breastfeeding for most of this journey. Story for another time. My daughter had really significant health issues, which I may touch on. So like my breastfeeding journey was complicated, but I was breastfeeding for the majority of this window of time. And so I was much more focused on making sure that I could maintain my supply than I was on trying to drop weight quickly. Because if you reduce your calories significantly, that can really impact your supply. And I did not want that. So I was not focused on like counting calories, counting macros. Like I think that stuff is helpful at times for certain seasons. This was not one of those seasons. So I was just focused on like, what can I eat more of that's good for me and for my milk supply, rather than like, what can I eat less of? Now, here's the thing. That all worked. I lost 45 pounds. As I mentioned, I felt pretty good. I felt pretty strong. I felt like my endurance came back. My energy came back to the extent that you have energy when you have a newborn. Like, it worked. And so there are elements of that that I want to double down on in this next postpartum fitness season because it worked really well. And that's why I program it in my app, because I think this is like a really great framework for moms who have little time that want to get fit and get healthy. However, looking back, I also realized there's a lot that I did, a lot of choices that I made that made it a lot harder on myself than it needed to be. And those are the things that I'm planning on doing differently this time around. So that brings me to topic number 2, which is like, what do I want to change and what do I want to do differently so it's not so freaking hard? I don't know what your postpartum season was like. Mine was hard. I dealt with a lot of anxiety. I have that struggle naturally. Postpartum just kind of doubled down on that. And you know, your hormones are just like crazy during that season anyway, so they're almost working against you in a way. And as I mentioned, my daughter had really significant health issues. She had heart surgery shortly after she was born, so we just had like a lot going on. And I was not in the best headspace mentally. And I'd heard people talk about how hard postpartum can be, like emotionally, mentally. And so it's not that I was necessarily surprised by that, but I had not prepared for it. I had not done anything to be proactive about figuring out how I was going to support myself, like my heart and my mind. I certainly hadn't prepared to the extent that I had prepared for how I was going to get back physically. And that's the first mistake I want to talk about. I should have prepared more for my mental and emotional healing than I did for my physical healing. You know, I had a workout plan, I had my meal plans, like I had it all sorted and was like ready to go as soon as I hit that 6-week mark. But I was totally unequipped for what my heart and my mind were going to need in that time. And we all know that the mind and the body are so deeply interconnected. So if you're really only focused on one side of that coin, you're creating a pretty significant imbalance in your overall wellness. And by doing that, I think I made my healing journey in general way harder than it needed to be. It's actually one of the big reasons why in the Well Mamas app, I have an entire section on like mindfulness, meditation, like that side of things, because I made the app during my first maternity leave. This was fresh on my mind, but I'm just keenly aware of the fact that women are oftentimes sort of pressured into thinking about working out and eating right because we want to look a certain way, but we very easily neglect the mental and emotional side. That's just not right. It's just not how it should be. So I wanted to make sure before we put anything out into the world, we had the mindfulness piece ready to go as well, because I wanted it to be like an integrated wellness offering, holistic wellness, as I say, because they're equally important. And so many moms forget that, myself included. And that's one of the things I'm going to be doing differently this time around. I am much more aware of my need to prepare for my emotional and mental healing in addition to, or more so than, my physical healing. So if you're approaching a postpartum season, or really just like thinking about your health and wellness in general as a mom, as a woman, like I would highly recommend making sure that you have some balance in how you're approaching those different areas of your life. Okay, the second thing I did that made it way, way harder than it needed to be was not prioritizing movement during my pregnancy. Now, this is going to sound obvious. It's one of those things like, oh, you should always work out during pregnancy and like yada yada. And then you get in it and you're like, everything hurts. And no, I don't want to do that. I think what surprised me was how much harder working out was during pregnancy. And I'm a personal trainer. I like working out, but it was so different than it was pre-baby, which of course, again, that sounds obvious, but until you're in it, I just didn't prepare. Part of this also is because I was so sick for that first trimester and a half, and I wasn't really able to move during that time. Then I had basically taken off like 3 months of movement, of exercise, by the time I felt good enough to try again. And that's a pretty big hurdle to try to like overcome when your body is also going through this crazy amount of change. Like even after the morning sickness, exhaustion fog lifted, I still found myself like really unmotivated. And I think part of that, as I said, was it was just so much harder than I expected it to be. I was out of breath really easily. Like things felt different. Obviously it was different. My back was hurting. Like I just wasn't giving my body enough grace to do different types of workouts, to do easier workouts or take longer breaks. Like I just expected to be able to do the same types of workouts that I've been doing for years and years. And when I wasn't able to do that, I got really discouraged and was just like, you know what? No, I've got other things to deal with. So this time around, I'm a lot more focused on staying consistent with my workouts during pregnancy and like thinking of it as training for labor, training for delivery, training for postpartum, so that it will not be so difficult to jump back in after the fact. I'm following actually my own workout plan. It's in the app. If you're pregnant, we have a plan for all 3 trimesters, but I'm following that plan. It's 4, 3, 2, 1 as usual. And I'm just giving myself longer rest times. I'm letting myself take modifications if I need it. I'm reducing my weights. Like I'm still strength training, but I'm just giving my body the grace that it needs to do what it can do in this season while it's also growing a freaking human being. Every week I think to myself, my baby is getting stronger. So can I. And that is cheesy, but very motivating for me. I can already tell it's had a major impact on like just my energy levels, how I feel, my back pain. Like I just feel better focusing on movement and mobility. And I'm really excited to see how that plays out for trimesters 3 and 4. Okay, last thing I did that I regret that I will do differently, and this might be a little controversial, but that's fine, is I was terrified to do any sort of movement in that 6-week period before I got like clearance from my doctor. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think you need to like pop out a baby and then the next day like hit the gym, like that freshly postpartum phase is so sweet and tender and precious, and you need to rest. Your body just did this insane thing. You delivered a human, you delivered a massive organ that you grew. Like there's so much that your body needs to heal and rest and recover from. However, the 6-week mark is somewhat arbitrary in terms of how seriously we need to take that 6-week period as like a hard and fast rule. What I mean by that is the medical field has determined that a 6-week period is roughly what it takes for women to heal enough to get back to a place where they can move in a safe way. Now, for some people, it's actually longer than 6 weeks, which is why getting that clearance from your doctor, and if you have the resources to do this, getting that clearance from a pelvic floor specialist, that is key in making sure that you are able to get back into movement in a safe way. However, it does not mean, which is what I had interpreted it as in the beginning, or the first time around, that like you should do absolutely nothing for 6 weeks and then at the 6-week mark, you can jump back into a workout plan. Like that is a ridiculous way to think about it, but I'm a very black and white person, and I think I was just so scared to do anything like wrong or like to somehow injure myself more that I did nothing for 6 weeks. And listen, again, depending on your labor and delivery, the health of your baby, your circumstances, maybe that's what you need, and don't feel bad about that. But looking back, I just know that I was capable of doing a little bit of movement, like maybe a short walk down the block just to get some fresh air, to get some sunshine, working on things like my mind muscle connection with my core to try to rebuild some of that, or like my pelvic floor, like deep breathing, mindful breathing. Like these are things that you can do during that 6-week period that can support your recovery and make it easier when you are cleared to start working out, that I did none of because I was scared. And if you combo that with not really moving a lot during your pregnancy, it's like insane to think that at 6 weeks you can jump back into a workout program and everything's going to be fine. So what I plan to do differently this time is to start incorporating some of that healing movement and breathing and just gentle movement and mobility back into my routine before that 6-week mark. Just when it feels good. I don't have like a time frame I want to put against this. I just want to listen to my body and trust my body that it knows how to heal itself. It knows how to improve and safely move in the direction of moving more and more so that when I do get that clearance and I do want to start working out again, I have a better foundation to start from. Now, I am certified in pre and postnatal fitness, so I have a lot more confidence about this in terms of what I can do safely than I did the first time, and then you may have if you don't have that certification or don't have that experience. If that's you and you are looking for something to support that 6-week period, on the Well Mamas app, we do have a 6-week ab rehab program that's specifically for those 6 weeks. You can do it anytime if you haven't rehabbed your abs post-baby, even if it's been 3 years. You really need to, because your pelvic floor and your deep core are so foundational in the rest of your mobility and ability to be strong and safe in your movements. So you can do it anytime, but it is designed to be safe for those 6 weeks, depending on your situation. Did you have C-section, et cetera, et cetera? So feel free to check that out if that's something you're interested in. But that's one thing I will definitely be doing. Maybe leveraging that 6 weeks in a more meaningful way when it comes to how I think about movement. To summarize, I lost 45 pounds, 4.5 months postpartum. Things that worked: 4-3-2-1 workout method, eating high protein, high fiber, good healthy fats, and drinking a lot of water, and giving myself permission to have a physical goal and not feel bad about it. You don't have to apologize for wanting to look a certain way. There's nothing wrong with that. If you obsess over it, then it becomes an issue. If it's just something you want and you know you can work towards it, that's just a goal. What didn't work? Not focusing on my mental health or prioritizing that in terms of my recovery. Not prioritizing healthy choices during pregnancy. Again, obvious, but something I didn't do and I'm definitely doing this time. And third, taking that all or nothing approach to easing back into movement. It's not like 0 to 100 after 6 weeks. It's like a slow, gentle reconnection with your body to allow you to start working out again safely. It's so easy when you're pregnant, and I know this because I feel this tension every day, to have this mindset of like, whatever, I'll just deal with that after the baby comes. Like, I can't think about that right now, so like I'll just lose the weight later. And like, you can do that. But your 4th trimester can be made so much easier by choices that you make in trimesters 1 through 3. And that's what I'm trying to encourage you to do. It's like, think about this as like a holistic journey, not just like, what is my body before baby and what is my body after? It's like every stage of this is worth you prioritizing your health and your wellness. And I think movement, eating well, mindfulness, those are all ways to do that. Because you want to feel good. And motherhood can be challenging. So you want to have energy and feel good while you're dealing with those challenges, you know? If you're pregnant or postpartum, I would love to hear from you. Like, what's been your experience with losing the baby weight? Anything you want to do different next time? Like, was it harder than you expected? Like, would just love for the comments to be full of advice from one mom to another so we can all share. Drop a comment below and let's talk about it, because I think we need to be having more real conversations about postpartum and what it looks like. And if this video was helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Stick around for more videos like this. I talk about holistic wellness, fitness, nutrition, all the things, pregnancy, not pregnancy, motherhood in general. And lastly, don't forget to grab your free week on the Well Mamas app. You can grab it in the link below. I'd love to see you there. We have programs for pregnancy, for postpartum, and for just busy mamas, no matter what season you're in. So we will see you on the app. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.